You may work hard, you may save, you may even pride yourself in your honesty. But if you do not understand how money truly operates, you will always remain weak in the shadow of those who do. This lesson is not about earning money. It is about mastering the invisible rules that money obeys, rules that the powerful have always known and the common man ignores. Today we unveil them. Men speak of virtue, of loyalty, of honor. Yet beneath their words lies the true ruler of men, money. Gold governs kingdoms, dictates loyalty, and decides who lives in power and who fades into dust. It is not the sword, but the purse that decides the fate of nations. And those who misunderstand money will forever be servants to those who master it. Men deceive themselves when they imagine that power is measured only in titles, armies, or eloquence. The true backbone of all authority, the silent foundation of kingdoms, is money. It may not shine as brightly as a crown nor strike as fearfully as a sword, but gold is the quiet force that bends men's will without a single command. A man with a bag of coins commands more loyalty than one with a sword, for the sword requires blood. But gold can purchase blood without raising one's hand. Look at history. Princes who lacked gold soon found their soldiers deserting, their allies growing distant, their ministers whispering treason. But those who possessed wealth, even in the smallest measure, could buy devotion, loyalty, and silence. The loyalty of men is not written in their hearts. It is written in their debts, in their hunger, and in their dependence. And hunger obeys the man who feeds it. Thus the one who controls money controls men. Consider the difference between generosity and power. The knave ruler believes that by giving freely, he will be loved. But love built on gifts is fragile, for once the flow of gifts stops, so too does affection. The wise understand that giving must never be random, nor should it arise from sentiment. To give without purpose is to waste gold, and wasted gold is wasted power. Each coin must be spent like an arrow, aimed directly at influence, aimed at binding men to your cause, aimed at securing obedience. When you appear generous, the world perceives you as powerful. They whisper that your purse is deep, that you possess resources beyond their reach. Yet you must guard yourself from the trap of true generosity. Appearances are enough. Seem charitable, seem abundant, but never let the river of your wealth pour out freely. Control its stream. A measured flow creates dependence, while a flood breeds ingratitude. Wealth unused is wasted power. A treasure locked away in a chest is a soldier left unarmed. Money must move, must circulate, must be placed into the hands of others with design. The idle miser, who hoards for fear of loss, becomes powerless. For wealth that does not influence men is as useless as a kingdom without subjects. The rich fool who guards his coins yet commands no one will, in the end, be overthrown by a poorer man who knows how to wield money like a weapon. Reflect on this truth. A man's courage may inspire for a moment, but hunger lasts forever. An army that admires a general's bravery will still abandon him when their stomachs are empty. A servant who swears loyalty by oath will betray when his children starve. But the leader who places gold in their hands binds them with chains stronger than iron. For courage fades, loyalty fades, but dependency endures. Observe merchants too. They hold no swords, command no battalions, yet kings bow before them. Why? Because the merchant commands the flow of money. He supplies the coffers, he feeds the treasury, he oils the wheels of power. Even a prince must bow his head to the man who controls his purse. Thus, the true power is rarely visible. It is not always the crown upon the head, but the coin behind the crown that directs authority. And so the wise must ask themselves, do I command wealth, or does wealth command me? Am I using my gold as a master uses his servant, directing it with purpose, or am I enslaved to my own desire for comfort and display? For many men fall into ruin not because they lacked money, but because they misunderstood its nature. They sought to hoard it when they should have wielded it. They sought to spend it for pleasure when they should have spent it for power. Money is not meant to make life comfortable. It is meant to make life controllable. It is not meant for indulgence, but for influence. The wise ruler, the cunning strategist, the man who understands the hidden laws of power, he knows that money is not gold, it is not paper, it is not currency. It is obedience, loyalty, survival. The common man comforts himself with a lie that wealth belongs to those who toil hardest, that long hours and sweat are the parents of fortune. This is the illusion that keeps men obedient, endlessly laboring, while the powerful reap without lifting their hands. In truth, money does not flow to those who work the hardest. It flows to those who appear to deserve it, those who control the perception of their own worth. Think of the farmer who bends his back under the sun, his hands cracked, his body broken. He produces the food that sustains the land, yet he remains poor. Then consider the merchant who never touches the soil but presents himself with dignity, authority, and the appearance of abundance. The farmer sweats, yet the merchant thrives. Why? Because labor feeds the body, but perception feeds the purse. People are drawn to symbols of wealth. They trust a man who looks prosperous, even if his coffers are empty. They invest in the one who displays confidence, even if he borrows his fine robes. Reputation is a currency far more powerful than coin. Appear to be rich, and opportunities will chase you. Appear to be poor, and even fortune itself will abandon you. Men are simple. They cannot see into your accounts, but they can see the image you project, and the image decides their loyalty. Observe how rulers stage their wealth. Thrones gilded in gold, palaces adorned with marble, feasts overflowing with food. Do you believe all these kings were truly as rich as they appeared? Many borrowed heavily, many taxed ruthlessly, but the illusion was maintained. For it is not necessary to have endless riches. It is necessary to seem as if you do. Power is not held by the wealth you possess, but by the wealth others believe you possess. Consider also the craftsman. He works tirelessly, creating goods of quality, but struggles to sell them. Then comes another, less skilled, who simply presents himself with refinement, who carries himself with prestige, who charges more not because his work is superior, but because his name is spoken with respect. The world rewards the one who appears valuable, not the one who actually labors. Thus, money is not given to the most deserving, but to the most convincing. This is why the wise protect their image with greater care than their purse. A man can lose gold and regain it, but once his reputation of abundance is shattered, it rarely returns. The illusion of prosperity must be guarded like a fortress. Dress well, speak with certainty, display confidence, and let others believe you are a fountain of wealth. From this belief, wealth itself will flow to you. Labor makes men tired. Appearances make men rich. The mason can toil all his life carving stones for another's palace, but the man who presents himself as the palace's master will reap the rewards. To command money, one must rise above the drudgery of labor and enter the realm of perception. The masses sell their time, the wise sell their image. But beware, appearances must not be empty, for even illusions require some foundation. If you present yourself as prosperous but cannot deliver anything of value, your mask will collapse. The art lies in building enough truth behind the illusion to sustain it. This is why wealth is multiplied by reputation. Once people believe in your prosperity, they will entrust you with more resources, which then makes the appearance true. It is a cycle. Appearance attracts wealth, and wealth strengthens appearance. This is also why many men, though talented and diligent, remain invisible. They focus on the work, not on the presentation. They believe the world will reward their effort. But the world does not see effort. It sees results, and more importantly, it sees the performance of results. The ruler who understands this will always rise above those who still cling to the myth of labor. Men make the grave mistake of treating money as though it were a faithful servant, a loyal dog that will remain at their side forever. They believe that once wealth is in their possession, It will stay bound to them, serving them until the end of their days. But money is treacherous. It has no allegiance, no conscience, no master. It slips from one hand to another with ease, abandoning the weak without hesitation and rewarding those bold enough to seize it. To treat money as a loyal companion is to invite ruin, for gold is not loyal. It is opportunistic. Observe how quickly fortunes change. One man is rich today, hosting banquets, admired by courtiers, flattered by allies. Tomorrow he is ruined, his estate sold, his halls empty, his so-called friends gone like smoke in the wind. Did his money mourn him? Did it linger out of pity? No, it fled, as all gold does, into the hands of another who was ready to claim it. Money remains only with those who wield it with purpose. The moment you grow weak, the moment you hesitate, the moment you believe it will always remain yours, it abandons you. Thus, one must never assume wealth is permanent. It is not stone, it is water. It flows through the cracks of life, always searching for strength, discipline, and cunning. If you do not direct its course, it will trickle away into the hands of others. The man who clings to his wealth without movement will find it drained, slowly and silently, until nothing remains. The man who understands its restlessness, however, will always adapt, always move, always guide it into new streams. Consider the fate of rulers who became complacent. Many sat upon thrones of gold, believing their wealth eternal. But when they grew soft, when they ceased to strengthen their hold, when they spent without foresight, the tide of money left their courts and poured into the coffers of ambitious rivals. Armies once loyal deserted them, allies turned against them, servants betrayed them, all because money is not bound to a crown, but to power itself, and power shifts. The wise therefore invest their money not in comfort, but in power. Luxury is fleeting, influence endures. A golden chalice does not protect your throne, but an army fed and paid by your coin will. Silk robes may impress the eye, but when your treasury empties, no robe will stop your enemies from tearing it from your shoulders. Money must always be placed where it strengthens your position, not where it weakens it. Those who spend for vanity soon find their vanity stripped bare. Those who spend to build alliances, to purchase loyalty, to expand influence, these men ensure that when money shifts, it shifts in their favor. When money moves, you must move with it. Trade routes shift, markets rise and fall. Fortunes are made not by those who cling to the old, but by those who adapt to the new. The merchant who clings to dying markets will be ruined, while the one who follows the flow of gold into new lands becomes a prince among traders. The ruler who refuses to adapt his treasury to new times will find himself impoverished, while his rival, who embraced change, will feast upon his downfall. Money rewards movement. To stand still is to be swallowed by its current. The greatest danger lies in mistaking wealth for security. Many men, upon acquiring riches, believe they are untouchable. They build their houses high, thinking their walls of gold will protect them. Yet those very walls become their prison as enemies circle and their money bleeds away. They thought their wealth loyal, but in truth, it had already begun its flight. Those who place their trust in the permanence of money prepare their own destruction, for money cannot be chained. Gold does not care who holds it. It does not care for virtue or vice, for honesty or deceit. It flows to strength, to cunning, to discipline. And when it leaves, it shows no mercy, no regret, no loyalty. It abandons kings as easily as beggars. It stays only with those who know how to make it serve their purpose, and even then, only for as long as they remain strong enough to command it. The ruin of many men is not poverty, but their weakness in handling money with their hearts rather than their minds. They confuse wealth with charity, gold with love, generosity with loyalty. They allow their emotions to guide the use of their purse, and in doing so, they become slaves to the very people they attempt to help. Money is merciless. It does not reward pity. It does not honor compassion. It does not bend to the nobility of intentions. It punishes sentiment, and it rewards calculation. Consider the man who lends money from pity. He hears the cries of a desperate friend, the pleas of a relative, the sorrow of a beggar, and he empties his purse to relieve their suffering. What happens next? Gratitude fades quickly, like dew under the morning sun. The friend who was once humble becomes arrogant when the debt is forgotten. The relative who promised loyalty becomes distant once the purse is empty. The beggar who kissed your hand today will curse your name tomorrow. Men forget gifts, but they never forget debts. The one you rescue becomes the one who resents you most, for your aid is a reminder of his weakness. A man who spends for love is equally a fool. He squanders wealth on pleasures, on the fleeting affections of others, on luxuries meant to buy admiration. Yet admiration bought with gold is shallow, and love purchased with wealth is fragile. When the gold runs out, the affection vanishes with it. What remains is not loyalty, but mockery. Money spent for sentiment rarely returns, and worse, it leaves the spender weakened. He believed he was buying love, but in truth, he was renting it, and the rent expires the moment the coin is gone. Even rulers have fallen into this trap. Kings who sought to win the hearts of their subjects by showering them with endless gifts discovered too late that such affections are temporary. The people praised them while the treasure flowed, but when the treasury dried up, so too did their loyalty. The subjects turned bitter, demanding more, forgetting what had already been given. For generosity creates not love, but expectation, and once expectation is not met, the people grow restless, resentful, and disloyal. The wise ruler understands that money must be guided by discipline, never emotion. To spend without purpose is to weaken oneself. To lend without foresight is to enrich an enemy. To give without calculation is to plant the seeds of betrayal. Gold is not a tool for pity. It is a weapon for influence. When you lend, lend to bind a man, not to relieve him. When you give, give to secure obedience, not affection. When you spend, spend to strengthen your hold, not to indulge your weakness. There are countless men who ruined themselves by placing sentiment above reason. The merchant who extended credit to a friend out of trust, only to watch his business collapse. The father who depleted his fortune indulging his son's pleasures, only to raise an ungrateful heir who squandered what remained. The noble who spent lavishly to gain the admiration of women, only to die penniless and forgotten. Each of these men was not destroyed by a lack of money, but by a lack of discipline in how they used it. Money obeys no heart. It respects only order, restraint, and foresight. The one who treats it with mercy will be devoured by those who treat it with calculation. Compassion has its place in private matters, but in matters of wealth, compassion is poison. To allow sentiment to guide money is to hand power to those who are less emotional and more cunning. And once they seize it, they will not return it. Understand this: gratitude is short-lived, but expectation is endless. When you give for pity, men will expect more. When you give for love, they will demand more. When you give without purpose, you will be asked again and again until you are emptied of both gold and dignity. Yet when you deny, when you refuse, they may curse you in the moment, but in time, they will respect your strength. The discipline of wealth lies not in generosity, but in restraint, not in sentiment, but in strategy. The man who masters this truth becomes unassailable, while the man who ignores it becomes the prey of those who pretend to love him. The greatest power of money is not found in noise, but in quiet. Men who boast of their wealth, who display their fortunes openly, who crave recognition for their riches, are already on the path to ruin. For every coin displayed invites envy, every jewel flaunted awakens greed, and every declaration of wealth paints a target upon one's back. Gold grows strongest when hidden, multiplying in silence, working unseen like roots beneath the soil. The wise do not parade their wealth. They conceal it, nurture it, and let it grow unnoticed until it becomes unassailable. Observe the fate of those who shout their prosperity. The merchant who brags of his profits attracts rivals who conspire to undercut him, thieves who plot to rob him, and rulers who scheme to tax him. The noble who boasts of his treasures gathers sycophants who flatter his vanity, yet plot his downfall. The ruler who parades his abundance invites enemies who covet it. Loud wealth is fragile wealth. It attracts the hungry, the envious, the desperate, and they gather like vultures over a carcass. But hidden wealth is secure. It grows quietly, shielded from eyes that would devour it. A man who appears ordinary, who seems modest, is underestimated, ignored, even pitied. Meanwhile, his wealth expands in silence, his influence spreads unseen, and by the time others recognize his strength, it is too late to oppose him. What is louder, the tree with shallow roots that sways in the wind, or the oak whose roots dig deep into the earth? True wealth is like the oak. It does not announce itself, yet it cannot be uprooted. The mistake of the foolish is to equate wealth with display. They adorn themselves in silk, decorate their halls with gold, and host banquets to prove their fortune. Yet in doing so, they drain the very wealth they seek to preserve. Their riches are consumed not in building power, but in maintaining appearances. They purchase admiration, not realizing admiration is the weakest form of loyalty. Once the feast ends, once the jewels are sold, once the halls stand empty, their so-called friends vanish, leaving only creditors at the door. The wise man does the opposite. He wears modest robes, but his coffers are full. He walks humbly, but his influence extends farther than kings. He does not need to shout of his wealth, because his wealth speaks in silence, through the debts owed to him, through the opportunities he seizes, through the quiet multiplication of his assets. His power is invisible until the moment it is revealed, and when it is revealed, it crushes opposition with the weight of inevitability. Even rulers must understand this truth. A prince who boasts of his treasury risks rebellion, for his subjects will resent his abundance while they suffer. But a prince who quietly strengthens his coffers while maintaining the appearance of moderation disarms envy. His people see him as modest, while his gold secures armies, fortifies cities, and buys loyalty behind the scenes. He appears restrained, but in truth, he is building a fortress of wealth no enemy can breach. Money that grows in silence carries another advantage: it creates surprise. An enemy who believes you weak, who thinks you poor, will underestimate you. Then, when the moment of conflict arrives, you unleash resources he never expected. He believed he was facing a beggar, only to discover he has challenged a master. Victory is often won not by the loud display of power, but by the sudden revelation of strength at the decisive moment. Think also of alliances. Men are more easily bound by quiet wealth than by noisy generosity. When you help others silently, without fanfare, you create debts that cannot be displayed publicly but are remembered privately. Such debts are stronger, for they are personal, binding men to you in silence. Just as your money grows in silence, public gifts create envy, private support creates loyalty, and loyalty purchased quietly is loyalty that lasts. The masses are addicted to appearances. They measure a man's wealth by the shine of his robes, by the luxury of his house, by the size of his feasts. But appearances are lies. The truly powerful allow the masses to believe they are modest, perhaps even struggling, while behind the mask they are constructing empires. This deception is not cowardice, it is strategy. For to reveal wealth is to invite attack, but to conceal wealth is to ensure its survival. Silence is the shield of fortune. A treasure known to the world is a treasure already lost. A fortune built quietly, invisibly, becomes unassailable. Above all truths about wealth, there is one that towers above the rest. Money is not merely currency, it is destiny. It does not only purchase bread or clothes, it purchases time, influence, security, and power itself. The man who learns to command money does not merely live better, he bends fate to his will. And the man who fails to command, it does not merely remain poor, he becomes a pawn in the games of others. To master money is to master the invisible strings that guide the future. Consider how money reshapes time itself. For the poor man, time is an enemy. Every day demands labor, every hour is consumed with survival, every moment is stolen by necessity. He works to live, and yet life escapes him. But the man who commands wealth buys back his hours. He is free from labor, free from urgency, free to direct his life as he pleases. He can study while others toil. He can scheme while others sleep. He can prepare for battles long before others realize there is a war. Time bends before him because money has purchased it. He is no longer its servant. He becomes its master. And what of influence? Without wealth, even wisdom is ignored. Even courage is forgotten. A man may speak the truth, yet no one listens if his purse is empty. But a man with gold in his hand can whisper the smallest lie, and it will be believed. For money amplifies voice, it strengthens reputation, it cloaks the speaker in authority. Those who would dismiss the poor man will kneel before the rich one, regardless of merit. Ideas alone rarely rule the world. Money ensures they are heard. Money also forges alliances. Friendships built on sentiment dissolve in hardship, but alliances secured by wealth endure as long as the purse remains open. A king may be brave, but bravery will not feed his soldiers. A prince may be loved, but love will not build his fortress. A ruler may be wise, but wisdom will not purchase grain in winter. Only money does this. And so the master of money becomes the master of men, for he holds the keys to their survival. Their loyalty is not bound to his virtues, but to his wealth. And when wealth is wielded strategically, loyalty becomes as unbreakable as iron. Even fate itself can be defied with money. A man born poor may rise, not through prayer or virtue, but through the clever use of coin. He may purchase knowledge denied to him, buy entry into circles that would otherwise exclude him, fund ventures that multiply his fortune. Likewise, a noble may fall, not because he lacked courage, but because he squandered his gold, leaving himself powerless. Fortune may favor some at birth, but money is the great equalizer. It raises the low, it brings down the high, it reshuffles destiny in the hands of those who understand it. But to wield money as fate requires mastery. It must not command you, you must command it. Many men confuse wealth with indulgence. They spend it on pleasures, luxuries, fleeting delights, imagining themselves powerful because they can consume, yet they are slaves, not masters. Their money owns them, dragging them into decadence, making them soft, exposing them to ruin. True mastery lies in restraint, in calculation, in directing money not toward pleasure, but toward permanence. The master of money does not ask, "What do I want today?" He asks, "What future am I building with this coin?" When money is used to secure influence, to bind loyalty, to build systems of control, it ceases to be mere currency. It becomes a weapon sharper than any sword, more enduring than any army. Wars are fought with steel, but won with gold. Thrones are claimed by force, but maintained by coin. Legacies are not written in stone, but in the accounts that continue to grow long after a man's death. The master of money is not merely wealthy. He is immortal through the structures his money sustains. And so we must understand, to control money is to hold the reins of destiny. It buys time, it manufactures loyalty, it silences enemies, it builds empires. Those who scoff at wealth, who dismiss it as vulgar or corrupting, are often those who never commanded it. They excuse their weakness by scorning what they cannot control. But those who have tasted the true mastery of money know it is not simply a tool, it is the very foundation upon which fate is written. Thus, we arrive at the heart of the lesson: money is not a mere tool, it is the silent architect of power. It obeys no sentiment, pledges loyalty to no one, and yet it governs the fates of men more surely than armies or laws ever could. The wise understand its nature, while the foolish are crushed beneath it. Those who see money as a servant rather than a weapon will forever remain servants themselves. We have seen that wealth commands loyalty, that perception matters more than labor, that money is fickle and rewards only those who guide it with strategy. We have learned that emotion weakens its power, that it grows strongest in secrecy, and that mastery of it allows a man to bend time, men, and destiny to his will. Each rule is a thread in a tapestry of influence. Give with purpose, conceal your strength, control appearances, and wield gold as a silent but unyielding force. Consider the patterns of history. Kings and princes have fallen not because of cowardice, but because they mismanaged their coffers. Merchants have risen not through toil alone, but through the careful command of coin and influence. Empires crumble when money is wasted, and dynasties endure when it is disciplined. Fortune favors not the sentimental, but the calculated. Power obeys not virtue, but mastery. To live by these rules is to understand the hidden mechanics of the world. Money is more than currency, it is influence, survival, strategy, and fate. Those who master it become architects of their own destiny, rulers over men, and shapers of history. Those who fail remain bound by others' wealth, their lives dictated by the tides they cannot control. The path of the wise is not simply to earn, but to command. It is not enough to possess. One must know when to give, when to conceal, when to invest in loyalty, and when to wield in silence. Gold is a tool, a weapon, and a shield, but only for those who understand its laws. Remember this: he who masters money masters men, he who masters men masters kingdoms, he who masters kingdoms shapes the course of history. And all of this begins with understanding the 13 rules that govern wealth, the immutable principles that have guided rulers, merchants, and strategists across the centuries. For in money, as in life, knowledge is power, restraint is strength, and mastery is immortality.